It's a real honor to be asked to review this brilliant book. And as Professor Jafferlot himself has presented a very tight summary, very good summary, and has answered most of the questions which are in our mind. Now, of course, I have seen many books on Modi by different writers, but I must say this is the most outstanding and in-depth study which not only sincerely and meticulously chronicles all the events which have taken place around Modi's coming up, rising to power, coming to power in the center, but it has also very good analytic depth. I mean, and this is possible because Professor Jaffrlot takes definitely off from his earlier works, and his initial chapters which are there, they give us a very good idea about the overall ideology of Hindu nationalism. And I must say that was one of his major contribution from which he started contributing to this area of work. Of course, I must say that apart from being very profound, it gives a lot of indications to the future issues also. And one of the strong points of the book is it does not just look at Hindu versus Muslim, Hindu versus Christian thing, which RSS or BJP are generally identified with. That point is very much there, and every particular event has been meticulously put forward. But the strength of the book, I think, lies in its analysis of caste, how there are different caste dimensions which are very much there, and how BJP led by Modi has used this caste contradictions as far as his success to power is concerned. So as far as the book is concerned, I must say this is a very important contribution in the field of understanding Indian politics, in the field of understanding RSS and its ideology, and also more than those two factors, how Modi, primarily a RSS pracharak, how Modi as a RSS pracharak has transformed himself into a populist leader who can be in power by using his Hindutva ideology base and adding on to that the different dimensions which require him to continue to be in power. And that, so I think he very well brought it out during the question answer sessions also, as to caste remains one of the central things. So what I will, of course, I have nothing much to add because the study of Professor Jafferlot himself itself is very profound. It doesn't need many addition, but I would like to recall and underline some of the very important, some of the things which I feel one has to keep in mind while we talk about Modi's politics, and particularly if we have to combat this politics of Modi. I understand it cannot be only at the level of elections. Defeating him, defeating BJP at elections is definitely a prerequisite, is a very, very important thing. But the battle against this ideology is much more deeper. And that's where we have to understand the whole mechanics of RSS, which Jafferlot himself has brought out very well in his first book on Hindu nationalism. Now, the basic idea which I understand is that RSS itself came up while projecting its opposition to Muslims, like it was formed in 1925. It showed a fear of Muslims, mainly quoting Mappila revolt and other things that Muslims are becoming so dominant, showing that Hindus are under a threat because of the aggressive Muslims. That was the presentation. And the thing which was not presented, which was present but quietly underlying, and that was the caste transformation, which was taking place even in the decades of 1910s and 1920s. Of course, 1990, when Mandal came in, they called it Shudra Revolution, that is one. But this turmoils in the society of Dalits and also, to my understanding, of women also. The process of transformation of Dalits towards a long and painful journey of equality begins with Jyotirao Phule, then Ambedkar coming and adding very strongly to the same thing, then Periyar Ramaswamy Iyer adding in a different way. That was one thing. And second thing, which is not elucidated much, is also that women's education and partly women's coming to the social field was one of the factors which might have added to the coming up of RSS in 1920s, because that was a period when towards the end of 19th century, Savitribai Phule, Jyotirao Phule, they had begun their efforts into issues of gender at one level, caste at another level, and that is what disturbed the upper caste elite. And this is where, I mean, they did not talk about it. They don't talk about it. This is represented by saying that our glorious ancient past. They don't say that women are coming forward. They don't say this. They will represent by RSS being a exclusively male organization, and when women want to join it, they are asked that you can't join RSS, but you form a subordinate organization called Rashtra Sevika Samiti. Please understand that here the word Swayam, being, is absent in women's organization, which is a part of this Sangh Parivar as a whole. That was one. And second is the indication that they were hinting at opposition to the developments in the caste transformation was referring to the great laws of Manu. And this is what I am referring to Golwalkar, who in his initial writings and all through says that we have a great constitution in the form of Lord Manus, whose laws are a matter of admiration even today. So, in my understanding, that one thing, that issue of caste keeps nagging even today. The second thing which I think needs to be supplemented somewhere is the issue of gender. That all through in our discourse, gender is by and large missing. It is there. It is there. We can generally give the data that with the coming of Modi government in power, the atrocities against women and other issues, they become more intensified. But this is something which is not articulated very clearly, and this is still one of the silent things. Though, of course, most of the organizations which operate in the name of religion, whose politics is couched under the clothes of religion, they are all against the equality of women, including RSS and other this thing. But there are different mechanisms to co-opt them. Now, one point which I will like to add on, which is my understanding, that in the caste equations, Professor Jeffrey Lott very nicely pointed out that because of the reservation, all the castes have not benefited equally. And so neglected castes have been picked up as followers to support BJP. Here I like to add one point, that they have been picked up not only to support the RSS, not only to support BJP politics, but also the Hindu nationalist politics. And this is where one word was used by Professor Jeffrey Lott, social engineering. Now, social engineering is one thing where the low caste look upon the upper caste, try to emulate them, and try to feel happy and more dignified while emulating them. But the second thing is, RSS has a very clever strategy, and this I think I'll recommend all my friends to see some of the RSS activity amongst the deprived Dalits, neglected groups. They try to give them a sort of a brotherhood. This brotherhood, of course, is different from the brotherhood of equality. This is more of a patronizing thing which they operate amongst these low castes to win them over to their side. So, as far as the BJP electoral level is concerned, its beginning is there at the RSS politics, and that RSS politics, which at one level tries to do the social engineering, gives them some space, buys over some of their top leaders, uses a process of Sanskritization, and in addition to process of Sanskritization, they also resort to a sort of a social work, seva. Now, this point of seva we need to understand a bit more. On one hand, this I think point has not been elaborated much as far as a understanding analysis of BJP RSS politics is concerned. Of course, this book doesn't deal. It is its topic is very clear, and that is Modi's India. But I'm trying to add from my side because the book deals with its topic in a most appropriate manner. But in order to further understand the strategy of Modi, we have to see that Modi is just a integral part of RSS. Many times it may feel that he is becoming too autonomous. He is becoming out of the control of RSS. RSS may not like such a type of this thing, but RSS also knows that it is under Modi regime that RSS shakhas, RSS branches have more than doubled during this period. So whatever RSS shakhas were sagging, of course they are huge in number in most of the states of India, even in the southern states where BJP has not been able to come to power. But the RSS shakhas are very much working. We can't feel that in southern states, especially Kerala, Tamil Nadu, RSS will not, the BJP will not come to power. I have a feeling as far as RSS is working in those areas, and RSS is trying to unite Hindus at one level, keeping the caste differences alive. Now, this is, I think, the core understanding of RSS politics and so-called Hindu unity, in that they try to project the fear of the other. And the other in these cases is Muslim, lately Christians also. Of course, currently it is anti-Christian atmosphere, which is very strong and which is very dominating. So southern state, that question which had come up, I would like to say that southern states, for the reasons which were very well explained by Professor Jeffrey Lord, BJP may not have succeeded, barring in Karnataka. But the other factors which are a foundation for BJP politics are very much present at ideological level. So as far as making manufacturing their ideology is concerned, RSS branches in southern India are also equal in number. So what will happen? Like in Karnataka, one of the factors for their succeeding was they could latch on those issue of Eidgah Maidan and Baba Budan Giri Dargah. So these were the issues around which the whole campaign started. People from North India were brought in, and the polarization in Karnataka could be brought up, due to which later on, probably according to my understanding, BJP become stronger, particularly in Karnataka. While Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, the dynamics is totally different. So when we are discussing this book, obviously we want to draw the pointers as to how to combat the politics of the type of Modi, who has overgrown this. And I must say, one more factor which we talked about, crony capitalism. When Modi came to power in Gujarat, the major thing he did was, apart from developing these populist policies, two major things he planted for his future. One was to give a sort of a blank check to the corporates, and to have vibrant Gujarat summits, to invite the corporates and to invite all those, because of which they knew that it is with Modi that we can have uh, unregulated profits, and we can go to the sky. That's where Anil Ambani first said that Narendra Bhai should be our next prime minister. Ratan Tata endorsed them. Most of the industrialists endorsed them. That was one. And second was buying over the media houses. Now, till that time, of course, I must say, Indian media, television media, print media had still a lot of space for opposition, dissent, debate, and all that. But after that, as we see, as he comes to power in more way, so he acts on the media, and this manufacturing of people's uh, ideology, people's ideas. Through that, it grows a lot. So in addition to this, sir, of course, today BJP has more or less perfected its electoral machinery, and it has electoral machinery is also supplemented lately by electoral bonds, where infinite and huge amount of funds can be collected without and majority of the funds are definitely going to BJP. So the only point I want to add, that if you want to learn from the book, what we have to learn, number one, is that our policies as manifested, there is still a lot of plural, democratic, secular elements in our society. As we see that in Shaheen Bagh movement, though it was dissipated because of, on one hand, daily orchestrating of daily riots deliberately, and because of the later on onset of Corona, these two factors undermine one of the great movements of India, Shaheen Bagh. Farmers movement, fortunately, is going strong. So we have a lot of resources to see that democratic values are rooted in the society. But the obstacles in our path are, number one, the media; number two, the corporate world; number three, the huge and vast machinery of RSS in the form of pracharak and lakhs of Swayam Sevaks who may be forming by one doesn't know how many supplementary organizations they have formed. BJP is just one of the organization of these 200 odd organizations which work under the command of RSS. So now I'll just focus that in case we want to strategize, there are multiple layers on which our strategy has to depend. Obviously, the first one comes in the form of elections, defeating these communal forces in elections, and that cannot be done unless we have a opposition unity in the real sense. Professor Jaffarlot pointed out that it may take 15 years for that unity, but I think that will be a bit too late. And also, we want to understand that how the type of society has described this ethnic democracy on the models of Israel. But there are some features in this Indian Modi rule. Modi, I will not call it just Modi rule, Modi, BJP, RSS rule. I think there are three factors of this rule. One is, of course, this democracy, ethnic democracy. Second is there are some elements of fundamentalism, which we see in Islamic countries, Taliban or Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and all that. And third, there are also elements of fascism. Fascism, of course, I don't want to use it loosely, but there are many factors which come into that. So I will say this ethnic democracy, fundamentalism, fascism, all these three factors are integrated into the present rule that makes our struggle for reviving the democracy that more difficult. And of course, in India, what my understanding is that after independence, during freedom movement, of course, there was Gandhi, Nehru, then left, which kept educating the people in the values of secularism, pluralism, democracy, and all that. It was through movements, it was through their different actions that people were getting it. But after independence, somewhere we lost this game, and this education of the masses, people imbibing certain ideas, has become weaker. And this is one point I will like to point out as a supplement to while reading this book. Number one is that the popular social understanding has been constructed around hate, around two things. One is hate against religious minorities, Muslims and Christians both. And number two, glorification of the past. Now, what does this glorification of the past mean? By glorification of the past, there is a dog whistle for the values of Manusmriti. Manusmriti many times they used to say, but now they don't talk much of Manusmriti. There are some elements within BJP who will talk about changing constitution, but I will agree with Professor Jaffer that changing the constitution is really not needed because they are able to achieve their purpose of subjugating Dalits as a caste, women as a secondary position, into the secondary position, and workers on the margins of the society, bereft of any power. They are able to achieve it through other goals also. So, just one point I will elaborate before we can take up questions, because I don't have much to add. What RSS did in a very strong way, as I was saying. So, third point, which is there in the book, which but Professor Jeff Lott must not have brought it out that well because of shortage of time, and that is a serious attack on scientific temper. When this Prime Minister talks about planting elephant head on human body, that unleashed the whole process of one after the other 20 claims, 30 claims of all the science, all the knowledge, all the technology being here. And it was not accidental. It was with a purpose. Purpose I see was ancient time was great. Ancient time was great because there was caste and gender hierarchy. So what this right-wing politics has done in India is two things. One is hatred against Christians and Muslims. Number two, glorification of the past values, including a serious attack on scientific temper, and that is aimed to keep their deeper agenda of weaker sections of society, particularly low caste and women, to a secondary position. Now, as far as the hatred is concerned, now one of the things which I feel why it has not developed more in South India, there is one additional point I would like to say, that major communalism developed in North India, in Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan. That was a major battleground, and that is a place where this whole demonization of Muslims because of the medieval history, which has been a strong forte of RSS shakas, that hatred acted as a ground for violence. Because of that, violence could be orchestrated, because of which polarization could take place. This whole process has taken place more in North India. So that is one of my feelings, that because communal violence, location of Ayodhya, Kashi and Mathura is in North. So the foundation, Modi stands on an edifice. An edifice is that of RSS, and that edifice is of dividing the society, polarizing the communities, and standing on that polarization to achieve its different goals. Now, it is Modi's skills that coming on the top, despite having just 39% of votes or 38% of vote, it can continue to be a prime minister. And his personal skills, despite being probably, here I see the contrast between the first prime minister of India, very learned, very educated, great writer, and a great visionary for development of the society. From that time, what we have come, that also we have to see. Anyway, the last point I would like to make is that today, finally, with this book, after understanding this book in great detail, which I think most of you should read it to digest more properly what Professor Jeffrey Lott has to say, which is very invaluable. We must go for that. But as far as a strategy for the future is concerned, I am a bit more concerned about that, because the way things are worsening over a period of time is very disturbing. The decline, sorry to say, use this word on this platform, the weakening of the left in most of the parts of the India. Let's not forget, left was the biggest opposition party after independence, and today it is being reduced to a regional party, practically in Kerala, even in West Bengal, as probably because of some policies not being taken, it is restricted to Kerala at the moment. Anyway, what role we can play? Number one, this party must be defeated at elections. And for that, whatever is possible, 15 years it may take, but I think we have to cut short the process here. Here, our volition, our willpower, and to act in this direction is needed. We have to muster all our energies, all our ideological strength to ensure that the way at the moment Mamata Banerjee is trying to split the opposition, that process does not take place. Opposition unity is encouraged at one level. That is one. Second, I feel that because of the intense propaganda of RSS against religious minorities, there has been a big amount of hatred. This hatred, which is there, is much more in North India. We can't imagine the extent to which this hatred has gone, intensified by programs like this beef, cow, and of course, we all notice many times BJP leaders themselves try to put the beef in the temple, and then the love jihad. Now, this love jihad angle, I want to understand it more, because love jihad angle has a lot to do with restricting women's freedom to choose their own life partner. So one is that opposition unity. Second is countering the propaganda which RSS has successfully done for last 95 years. It's not an easy job. In the left cadre schools, lot of positive things, lot of things related to social movements, empowerment, all that we are done. But we have to add a new chapter to that, that whatever hatred they have spread on whatever ground has to be countered very effectively. Third, though of course the way society has been divided, Hindus and Muslims, and major strategy of RSS is to overshadow the caste and to bring a religious identity. That I think is their major strategy, apart from other things which they do for electoral purpose. So here we have to try to work against this hatred, try to bring religious communities together. Not an easy job, I know, but these are all the things which we need. And in this direction, probably all the parties who are very committed to a better society with where the real dignity, the dignity given by Jan Dhan Yojana or one-time gas cylinder, that dignity is, I think, a very face-saving device. It's not a real dignity in that sense. I think the real dignity comes in empowerment of these people through their movements, through their organizations, identifying their needs, and this is maybe a way to counter this very big threat to our society, our values which we cherish. So, of course, again, once again, I must say this is one of the very brilliant books on the topic, full of rich insights for the present politics, and a must read for most of us. Thank you very much.